Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to another live stream from the community, or better put, the community live stream. If everything works today, I'll be amazed. If anything works today, I'll be even more amazed because it's one of those mornings where the technology and my brain just are not aligned and something's going to happen. Anyway, welcome to the community live stream. My name is Chuck Tomasi from ServiceNow. I am the ServiceNow guy with the bow tie. I am also the one who brings you stuff from the community and gives you not only the answers in the community, but the thought process that goes on behind the answers and all that other good stuff that you can use in your workplace to be a more effective administrator and developer. So thank you for joining me. If you are joining us live on YouTube, you can always subscribe to that and click like at the bottom of the screen. If there's something you find helpful in this show, you can tell others that there is something useful in here as well. We also do this on Twitch every day, 1 p.m. UTC. Just seeing if my alert has come in yet. Nope, not yet. So some people out there. Good morning, Carolyn. Carolyn knows what time it is. It's 1 p.m. UTC, right? Give me a shout out in the chat if you happen to be on YouTube or Twitch. If you have something more complex around ServiceNow, you want to know about a script, you want to know about how to insert something, integrations, whatever it is, put that in the community. Be sure you provide context and put it in the right forum so that you can get the right people looking at it and get the best value out of your post that you can. So community.servicenow.com is where all that happens. That's also where I'm pulling all this good information out. And it's Tuesday, October 2nd, 2012. Whew. Let's see. Brain not awake yet. Doesn't even know what year it is. But time travel, we'll blame it on that. Sure. I also encourage you, if you haven't done so already, go over to developer.servicenow.com and get yourself a free personal developer instance. You can find all of our scripting APIs. I learned something today, and let's see if we have a chance to share it. That there's some scripting APIs in the release notes that I didn't know about, and I want to try one of them because there happens to be an integration that's giving me some grief, and perhaps one of the new APIs in London can clear it up. So you can find all that over at developer.servicenow.com. The release notes that I spoke of are at docs.servicenow.com. So you can find that there. It's time travel day today. Let's have a drink of water to that. Oh, lovely, lovely. Thank you for joining us. Where is that wonderful alert? YouTube is being slow again, but it happens. Developer.servicenow.com. What did I say? Free instance, scripting, free learning plans, information about meetups. There's more information about meetups over at meetup.com at the URL you see there on the bottom. There's some coming up this week. I'll be at the one in Melbourne. I'll be at the one in Munich. I've also scheduled one for November 8th in Washington, D.C. That is new. Hasn't even been posted yet. We just finalized on the date last night and working out the topics and agenda and whatnot this morning. So, yes, before 6 a.m., I get a lot done. And it's all for you. We go with that. So, looking forward to seeing you in D.C. Possibly, if there's somebody willing to lead the New York meetup, we could do a New York meetup on the 14th, 15th, somewhere in there. We'll see what happens. I need to book that travel this week, so if that's going to happen, it's going to happen this week, and I'll keep you informed. Let's see, there possibly one in December in Tampa. We have a Developer Days Florida coming up that we could possibly hitch a meetup onto. I think it's Todd Volpe that runs the Tampa one, so working on that. I want to go to all of them. I can understand that, Carolyn. It's a great way to meet and greet and work with your other developer colleagues, learn and share, and it's a good time. I really, really encourage it. If you don't have one in your area, please reach out to us. I looked this morning. We have just passed 12,000 members on meetup.com globally. That's across 50 chapters. So have at it. If you want to be number 51, let us know. If you want to be number 52, get started. We're going to be going soon. Speaking of getting started, any code that I write today will be available in the GitHub repo that you see right there at the bit.ly link. That's the top level directory. I do sort them out by folders. So if there isn't a folder for that day, it just means that I didn't write any script in the community live stream show that day. But this allows you to copy and paste and play around, and instead of squinting at the screen and typing what I typed, you could just copy and paste it. So go to that URL. You can fork it, clone it, whatever you want to do with that. I don't care. It's not proprietary. It's there for you. I'm sharing this with you. And I also post this link with the show notes, with any articles that we visited, back to the community. So there will be a daily video embedded in one of the community posts. It'll start with video, community live stream, and the date. I'll also socialize that on LinkedIn. That's been working out real well. It's funny how some of them have 1,000 or 2,000 views, and others have 6,000 views. I don't know what unless somebody's sharing it, that would make sense. But I'm always curious as to how the stats on LinkedIn actually happen. But I'm glad it's working, and I'm glad you find it valuable. Was it Julie? I can't remember now. Early morning brain freeze. There's one member that I met in Calgary that said, "Hey Chuck, I just love seeing those announcements on LinkedIn and the subjects that you put in of what you covered." That's actually very easy, and I've made the post-production simple with the help of a ServiceNow application. And I don't know if I've showed this to you or not, but maybe we'll dig into that as we go through, because there is a LinkedIn integration. There's an IFTTT integration, which I've found fascinating. So when YouTube gets done producing, it lets ServiceNow know, hey, there's a new video. Now you can begin the post-production. And I copy and I paste. I've shown bits and pieces of this in the last couple of weeks. But it's a way of using Service. I'm always looking for ways for ServiceNow to make my work better, make my work easier. And if you think about it, there's so many processes in your life, personal and professional, of course, that you can leverage to get the most out of this. Still no announcement, huh? Interesting. I wonder where YouTube is. We got 3 people watching. That's how I know that it hasn't gone off yet. That would be more like 15 or so. But let's continue with the post roll, and hopefully we'll get the announcement and join us soon. So onward to the community.servicenow.com. I don't know why I made a new tab there. Fingers aren't paying attention to the brain. Brain's not awake. Let's do a refresh. R and T are very close on the keyboard. That's probably what happened. YouTube is back in 2012. Don't say that. That means they're using like OAuth 1.0, and I don't want that. I want OAuth 2.0. That's about when Google cut over to OAuth 2.0. But yet, pieces and parts of Twitter are still using 1.0, and it's not good. Come on, Twitter. Come on, you can get into the modern age. 2012 was so 20 years ago. That would be a good t-shirt, wouldn't it? Ticket creation dependent field. Let's take a look at this. We're going to jump right in with the first one. I'm looking at new articles that have come in recently. This one was 3 minutes ago. I'm configuring our incident creation form and want one field to show up only if a specific options are selected within the form. I want the second field to only show up if specific selections are made with the field above. How can I accomplish this? This would be done with a UI policy. This would be done with a UI. I only want specifics. The second, yeah. UI policy. You make a condition to say when this happens, then the actions in the related list are triggered. When the condition is false, the actions are reversed. e.g. fields are hidden if they were told to show when the condition is true. All right, so let's go to the docs, look up London, click London, not drag London, and go to UI policies. There we are. Let's embed that. Come on. I did hit enter, did I not? Whew, computer's challenging me today. Copy link address. And we'll make that a link. Open in a new window and OK. And if you're not familiar with UI policies, I can certainly show you one real quick. We did one last week in our application developer workshop. Looks like I'm still on the timesheet screen from yesterday. Somebody was asking a question about timesheets. If I go to my safety issues application that we built, I have a UI policy in there that says if the category is big, I want a due date and make it mandatory. If it's small, the field gets hidden. That sounds like what they're looking for, so let me put that in there for you. I'll show you how that was built. If I go to Configure from the form menu, Configure UI, oops, I'm in the wrong scope, so that's going to come up read-only. Let's go to the safety application so that I can actually edit this UI policy. Try that again. Configure, and then UI policies down here. UI policies, I have make due date mandatory for big requests. And first you select the table. I want to look at records on the issue table. Very easy. Ensure that it's active. It defaults to true. Give it a friendly description. And your conditions. This one is very simple. When category is big. Once you save that record, these two related lists appear down here. The one that I'm after is UI policy actions. I simply clicked new and said, so when that condition is true, when the category is big, I want to make the field, which you pick from this little field picker here, the field due date to be mandatory, true, visible, true, and read only, leave alone. So the three options in here are true, false, and leave alone. Leave alone means it's not going to touch it. Whether the condition is true or false, leave it alone. If it's true, then it will be mandatory, it will be visible when the category is big. When the category is not big, it will be false. It will not be mandatory and it will not be displayed. So you get that automatic reverse, unless of course you uncheck that reverse checkbox, which I've never checked. There's also a clear value field. However, we found that in early releases of London, this is a little problematic. It's not clearing that out because I would like to clear the due date value. If I check that, watch this. It'll probably work now. I may be on patch 0, I may be on patch 1. Let's go back to the safety issues. What it should do is, although that wouldn't make sense, would it? It's cleared right now. So if it's mandatory, let's fill that in. Yeah, this is backwards logic because if I did save big, it clears it out because when the condition is true, it's clearing the field. Let's go back to my UI policy action. And how could we fix that? I want it, when it collapses, I want the value to go away. So what I need to do is reverse the logic on the UI policy. So let's go to my UI policy that says let's say make due date not mandatory and hide it and clear it when small, when category is small. Category it. Let's get the hands on the right home row. Okay, then I can reverse this and say, let's change it from big to small, save that, and since I reversed the logic there, I need to reverse the logic here. So simply changing that to false and that to false. Now, when it's small, it should clear this value. Functionally, it will show and hide the same way it did before. Let's go back to safety issue 001. It's big, I have a date. It's small, I don't have a date. I go back to big, oh, and it's cleared. Well, that's nice. Okay, good. Looks like it's fixed. Because you don't necessarily, if you save that field, if you don't check that checkbox, this is clear field values. By the way, that checkbox is new in London, which I absolutely love, because so many times you get into this situation. It says, hey, hide the field, but it still contains a value. And then you go to save the record. It says, you can't do that. It's in the past. You're like, the frickin' due date's not even on the form. What are you talking about? Why are you nagging at me on something I can't even see or change? And then somehow you have to know to make it big, to change the due date, to clear it out, and then it's like, so that checkbox can save you a multitude of problems. That's what I like about this. Any sign of YouTube yet? No. Wow, they're really off the their event management thing isn't working that well. Good morning, Praneeth. The event handler engine is not fired today. So that's UI policies. Give you a little hint about that. If you haven't used those, if you haven't checked out that new checkbox from London, very helpful. So again, I could fill this in, pick a date in the future, save it, everything works great. If I go too small, I can still save it, no problem. Hey, what are you trying to do, dude? It didn't clear until it comes back. That's interesting. Okay, so that's the bug. At least I think it's a bug. It feels like a bug. Is that, hey, it went too small. Why didn't it carry out this action? It's only when it comes back from big that it's blank. That doesn't make sense. Okay, I knew there was still an issue in there somewhere. I'm glad we played around with it a little bit more. Ha-ha. All right, next question. I get excited over some of these things. Yes! I didn't imagine this. We'll figure it out. Custom chart widget, role activity. Let's see what this is about. Sounds curious, interesting. I need a way to see the activity on different roles so we can remove roles from users not using that role. Is there a quick way to set that? I thought there was. Let me look. Let's go to user administration. And the interesting thing is, if there's no users with that role, it doesn't mean that that role is not going to exist in a menu option, in an ACL. So I wouldn't delete it. Let's leave that for a second. And I don't think there's an active field on roles, is there? No. So the question is, what are you trying to do? And Mark Stanger is online, happily responding. There really isn't a good way to see this since roles can be checked in so many different ways. There's nothing ever recorded indicating when a role is used and checked against an ACL, module definition, client script, etc. You can look at the user table and see the last time a user logged into the system using and used any roles. You can run a report on the sysuser has role table to see if roles allocated to users in your system. You can't directly see whether roles are being used because they can all be used during the login session. The only thing to check would be, let's see, yeah, I'm with Mark on this one. I also note that there is no active field on roles. So if you said, hey, nobody is using this role by checking sysuser has role and thought deleting it might be a good idea, think again. It could be referenced in an ACL, module, etc., and leave you with an open security issue. Okay. Can you help us understand where this question is coming from? What are you trying to do? Really, who cares and why? That's what I want to know. You know, interesting question to say, how do you know when roles are being used? A valid question. But again, why? Why does it matter? I mean, did somebody create a role once upon a time and say, is this even used anymore? Where is it being used? How is it being used? Because in that case, it may be a security issue. if you've got an open role and somebody's got it and it's buried in an ACL somewhere, those are the common places I would look. If somebody says, well, are we still using this? That's probably where it's coming from. I'm just curious. All right, quick refresh, since we know that others are working on here. Mark Stanger, a longtime ServiceNow person. He started ServiceNow before I did. He went off and started his own company, CrossFuse, also the man behind ServiceNowGuru.com. So good to see Mark back online. I thought I did a page refresh, which means there's something coming into the inbox. It did. Okay, I've got 3 in the inbox. I started the top of the hour with 0. So that means something's happening. People are replying. Maybe we should go over there and keep those discussions going. Possible to delay submission of a form in portal. Curious. As an end user, I wouldn't like this. Is there a way I can put what equates to the delay after submission of specific forms in the portal? I have delay of 1 second in my main REQ workflow in order to color code request items with the same parent request. Without the delay, it doesn't work. So right now, the customer list of ticket loads immediately after submission, but without the color. If they give it another second and reload, it would be fine. If it's a matter of delaying every submitted form by a second, I think I could live with that. Yeah, the challenge here is, oddly enough, request items. If you know the table hierarchy, you've got requests, then you've got request items, and then you've got tasks. And the Catalog API creates the request items before it creates the parent request, which seems really kooky from a parent-child relationship, because then it has to go back and update the request items with the new parent request to get all the references identified. It's, I don't know, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, Doctor Who craziness stuff. So I don't know why and where that comes from. Still no notice on YouTube. I'm just curious now how long it's going to take, if they ever let us know, because maybe notifications are broken this morning. Therein lies the problem. I don't know that I would do a wait, because it tends to make the user wait and they think the system is slow. If it's only 1 second, maybe. Okay, the whole color coding thing is cute and nice, but how mandatory is it? I've always been told that making a user wait, user and system wait using sleep, delay, whatever functions are bad. They tie up resources for no reason. Well, the colors sound like a great idea. Are they really necessary to cause a user experience delay or system resource allocation? What's the value of those colors and the cost of this customization? That's the big question. I'm sure there's a way using window.timeout. something or other. There is not you can't use gs.sleep in a scoped application, and most service portals that I'm aware of, at least the widgets, should be done in scope. The page itself could be done in global, but the widgets should be done in a scope if you're doing custom widgets. So, yeah, there's that. If you're doing a business rule, think about it. All right. Punch that desk bell. Let's do another one. So again, we're making tracks. This is completely unscripted today. What you see is happening live. When my brain doesn't work, I don't know if you call that live or not. Not very, maybe entertaining. Walk-up experience online check-in. Walk-up experience is new in London, if I remember right. Does anyone know how to change just the walk-up online check-in font color? Right now it's defaulting the main portal page, and it's hard to see some of the wording. Wow, that's horrific coloring. Where did that come from? Need to change the time-weighted section. I don't know if that's highlighted or ugh. Okay, so they obviously masked out some of the names. So it's picked up a default color from somewhere in the portal styling, and that is good. I don't know that much about the walk-up experience right now, so I am going to subscribe to that, follow any discussion that is going along there. You can always do that in the community. If you don't know and you want to learn, simply hit the subscribe button. You'll get alerts. You get the emails. ServiceNow integration with Microsoft Intune. Don't know about it. Somebody just asking, hey, is there one? I want to know how does ServiceNow integration with Intune works. How can we perform the integration for ServiceNow with MS Intune? Can anyone give me some inputs to this aspect? I have no idea, but let's go find out. Let's find out if there's a REST API, because a lot of modern applications have that. Azure Intune REST API reference. That's where I would start. And does it support stuff like OAuth, IoT Hub? Android provides operations for a MAM application, MAM policies. All right. Let's get that one. I would start with the Intune REST API. It looks like Microsoft offers a REST API for Intune. This would make it fairly easy to do a REST integration with Intune. So let's put our link there. And Command K, lucky I discovered that one day. Put the link in there. Beyond that, not a double space. It already adds double spaces, so when you do a double space, it looks really spaced out. Speaking of spaced out, beyond that, I don't know much about Intune or ever used it. Just a disclaimer. Just because I haven't used it doesn't mean I can't help integrate with it. Done that a number of times. Someone says, hey, can you help me build an integration with blah, blah, blah? And I've never even heard of blah, blah, blah. Let's start talking. What does it do? How can you do it? What is the schedule? Does it have to be real time? All of those standard API questions, those integration questions that I've gone through before. Okay, what does their system offer? Does it offer web services like REST, SOAP? Do we have to do FTP? Email is actually an integration if you want to do that. How often are we looking to do this? Does it have to be real time where I click a button and an outbound REST message happens? Are we doing single directional or bidirectional? That makes it a lot more complex. So lots of those questions need to be asked before you get to this. Well, this is the first question really, is can we do it? Does anybody know anything about it? There, I knew something about it. Type ahead script not working in Service Portal, glyph icons, font awesome, and notifications. Customize the cart widget in the Service Portal header menu. Ooh, lots of stuff this morning. Fax table is different, an indicator source. How does web proxy server work with ServiceNow? Filter work notes by user group. You know what? I'm going to go after that inbox. It's about the bottom of the hour. Let's see if we can get through the inbox, help some of these discussions keep moving along, and then I'll see what's on my topic list. Brad Tilton marked something is helpful. What was it? Mine that says don't do it. the sleep delay on portal. So Brad is very sharp when it comes to Service Portal, CMS. Wonderful, wonderful. Mark Stanger marked something helpful. UI policies, including instructions on how to use them. So you can refer right to this video at that point where I did it. Okay, that would be fun if I could reference the video before I had the video out. It'd be like Spaceballs where they're watching, when's this? This is now. Have to be a Spaceballs fan to know that one. Yes, I will throw out pop culture references, and I apologize if you don't get them all. All right, back to the topic. Curtis marked something helpful from 2 months ago. Agent Workspace. Look at 10 helpful on one comment. That's crazy. How to reload a UI page without a dialog window. This came in about a half hour ago, right about when we started. Can you please assist me with achieving this requirement? I built a UI page, and so this is a question. I said, what they want to do a UI page refresh without using Glide dialog window. I said, what are you doing? Help me understand what the problem is here. So this is the discussion of the problem from yesterday. I built a UI page and assigned it to a catalog variable and inserted onChange client script on the UI page, which needs to be triggered when the catalog variable on the catalog items is changed. So how can I establish the relationship between the catalog variable on the catalog item and the onChange client script on the UI page? Short answer, I don't know. Okay, that's, I'm afraid I have nothing to offer on this one right now. I'm curious to see what others have. My standard policy about customizations should be noted here. You are writing some pretty advanced code. The question I have is, do you recognize the cost of building and maintaining and testing this in the future? It seems a bit substantial for the return. Well, no, I don't want to pass that judgment because I don't know what the underlying requirement is, why this requirement is on there that they have to have this UI page. Okay. For example, if you were to leave the company and 2 years from now, this UI page stops working, is there anyone else who can maintain it? Has this risk been noted? Has this risk been communicated? A lot of times that'll stop customizations right in their tracks. Okay, only use customizations if A, it's documented well, B, able to be maintained. Well, see that, and therein lies the issue with Jelly, is there's not a whole lot of skill set going around for people to build and maintain Jelly code. When you build something on Service Portal, however, AngularJS is a little easier to find, even if you just did a big script include at some point. JavaScript, pretty easy to find staff for that. But when you get into the more esoteric languages like Jelly or some of the popular ones on our friendly competitors' platforms, it can be a bit trying if something ceases to work and you don't have that original resource. And let's face it, today people don't stick around in their organizations for 20 years like they used to. 2, 3, 4, 5 years. 5 years ago, I was doing 3 different positions ago. I was still with ServiceNow, but it can make a big difference. C, testable, meaning you have a test plan developed and maintained. D, you understand, you and management understand the costs and risks involved with developing, maintaining, and testing. Okay, That's just what I can think of off the top of my head. Give me another hour, I'm sure I could put together a whole PowerPoint on this. There actually is a configuration and customizations best practice on the Customer Success Center. If you want to look at that, servicenow.com/success. I don't recall the exact URL or where it is, but I invite you to take a look at the Customer Success Center, which I think I had here. There we go. servicenow.com/success. So get that over there. Anything new in the inbox since I've been typing and replying and killing 5 more minutes? Nothing. Then let's shift gears. We did have a question yesterday about timer fields. They wanted to roll up the time cards. And I said, well, you could possibly do this with a timer field. And I did a little investigation behind the timer field and came up with, they said, what do you mean exactly by the editable parts of a timer field? What I did on my personal developer instance is went to one of these incident, can't read email. I put a timer field. There's one out of the box on task called time worked. It doesn't appear there by default. It used to be on the default form all the time. And there are a couple of editable parts, the hours and the minutes. So if I say it's currently at 2:03 and counting up, if I say, wait, add another 7 minutes, it jumps to 2:11. If I say it's too high by 10 minutes, I can say minus 10. Thought I could say minus 10. Minus 10, and it will take 10 minutes off. So apparently it's also counting negative seconds up until it gets to 0. So you can modify the values in there if you have to. And I said, wait, what exactly is this? If I right click and say show, it says time worked is on the task field. It's a timer field. What is in a timer field? So I said, let's copy the URL because it has the table and the sysid. I've just gotten in the habit of doing that. Let me bring up my editor, Visual Studio Code, which is available on Mac and Windows. It's a very nice editor, and it has Git integration. On a Mac, you got to download, I think it's Xcode. I just forgot. I remember installing it one time, and I did something different. I did not install Xcode. So there's my sysid that I want. Copy that. And let's do var inc gr equals new glide record incident. So we're going to instantiate an incident object, inc gr.get, inc gr, one word at a time, Chuck. And get allows me to put in a sysid. If I have 2 parameters, I can put in a field and a value and match that. That is effectively the same as, if you haven't seen that format before, the same as saying inc gr.add query sysid and then putting in the value and then doing an inc gr.query and then doing an inc gr.next. Why would I want to type out 3 lines when I can just type out 1? Now, if you don't believe it worked, you can always put an if around that saying if inc gr, and it'll return a true or false. Well, actually, I think it returns the sysid. I can't remember. It's a null value or a falsy value if it doesn't work. And then you could do some error trapping in there. But since I know this record is there, I just had the sysid, I copied it myself, I'm not going to bother with any of that right now. But what I want to do is say, what is the value, what is the display value of that timer field right now? So let's do inc gr.timeworked.get display value. And then next, I want to know what is the actual value. The underlying value can be had with the get value parameter. Time worked. So one is getting the human readable one is getting the machine value. I'm going to copy and paste that into script background and run it. And it says, it's a little hard to read here, but you can see 2 hours, 3 minutes is a nice human readable. If you wanted to put that in a form, a report of some type, that's how it's going to come out. If you want the actual value that you can add additional ones, maybe you had 50 tasks, you wanted to add these, you do the get value and roll them up. So it looks like it's behaving very much like a duration field. This is very similar, if not the same, as the format to a duration field. So timers and duration, very similar. Timer is counting while the form is running, and you can adjust it. So that's the big difference about that. So given that, you could take your time cards. If somebody said I had 3 hours here and 4 hours there and 4.5 hours there, you could adjust it and put it into this value. So if this came out as 1970, 01, 02, and at 9 o'clock and 37 minutes, you know that it was 1 day, 9 hours, 37 minutes, because it's bumped up 1 day. Why is it 1970, 01, 01? That's what we call the Unix epoch. That's technically when Unix went live at midnight, January 1st, 1970, GMT. I think they were using GMT back then rather than UTC. But that's how many, and then the seconds just keep track of that. So internally, a lot of databases, a lot of applications behind the scenes are keeping track of their time from that value. There you go. Well, what about those sites that you can pick, my birthday is 1942, and what is your age and all that kind of stuff? They're using a different baseline for that. This is just a standard Unix time T value. All right. If that didn't make any sense, I apologize. A little bit of trivia for you where things are coming from. And yet, no YouTube. Show's almost over. This will be interesting. Maybe we'll get an alert when it's rendered. Back to this. Applications and modules. There was a question this morning that was a follow-up from the other day. I'm just picking things off my random list, so let me put this down here. Applications and modules, and then I'm going to show you a neat trick. So the question was, how do I get people in Group A and Group B to see all the incidents for both groups? And they said, well, you could do it. The discussion went back and forth about filters and modules and get my groups, and these people aren't necessarily in the same group. He said, but there is a common role between these two groups. I went, aha, a common role. You can create a module. And they said, well, how do I do that? So again, with the link that I provided to the docs, wow, brain is really starting to go here. We're it's almost like you can see the CPU meter, and it's either up here pegged at the top at 100%, and I just can't move forward, and my other thoughts are getting blocked, or it's down here going, nothing is happening. There's a blip. Okay, I'm not sure how you visualize your brain working, but mine is maxed out right now. I need a RAM upgrade, I think. So modules are, of course, we've got application menus, which in this case would be incident or change or service desk or guided setup. These top level headings that expand and collapse are application menus, going back to just basic usage stuff here, but then I'll get into some administration of that. Incident is a menu, and then underneath we have modules. They weren't always called this, but I'm not going to confuse the issue. This is the current terminology. Once I've got that information, I can use the pencil icon. It's not always there. You can see it doesn't show up until I hover over one of these things. And my theme is pretty crummy here, but it's there. If I look at the module, I can edit an existing module by going in here. It says, hey, this is in the global scope, so you might want to play around in global to make it editable, which I can do. And I can say, look at the assigned to me. The link type is a list of records where the condition is get my assignments. Probably a better way to do that without that is use a dynamic filter where you can say assigned to is dynamic me. But this is a very, very old module. Probably hasn't been touched in years. Not going to make any claims about that. If I go back to the application menu, though, I can either go up through the parent record or click this so that I could create a new one Then I've got a related list of modules below it. So just like this, here's the parent record, here's the child records, same kind of thing on the form. Here's the parent record, down here are all the child records, and I can add a new one down here, list of records, arguments from URL, a separator. If I wanted to decorate and make this a little easier to manage, I could do that. Very easy to do with modules. Now, modules, lots of definitions you can talk about in here. I'm going to make one kind of simple, call it CLS. Actually, you know what? Why don't I do this in my CLS application? That would be a better place to play around. Then, of course, I'm not making a mess of things. Okay, this is CLS. I'm not going to make that. Let's go into my CLS menu. Same basic premise. There's my application menu. I'm going to create a new module and call it active items, because I think I have an active field on here. So I can take item and, you know what, let's do something even more fun. Let's make a separator. Okay, we'll make an items separator, put that at 100, because there's some things that are interesting about modules that you don't learn until you start exploring them. I have lots of choices for what I want it to appear as. Some of these I've never used. I can use a separator, which is a common one, and it will simply take the name items and use that as a separator, so I can collapse and expand in the menu. Visibility, of course, is, do I need to restrict this to any kinds of roles? I could choose a role. I could choose a role that I'm already using, like XCLS, something, but I don't really need to, because I'm only playing in my personal developer instance. But consider the security of who is seeing this. What roles do they need to access this? I can also just inherit the parent menu. If I'm putting a role on the parent application menu that says, you must have the CLS user role to access this menu, I don't need that on every module underneath. There's a time-saving feature, because if you can't get into the menu, you can't get into the modules. Easy as that. But if you can, and you want to have, maybe these are publicly available, these are by CLS user, and then even more advanced, perhaps a properties page is available only to admins, then you could certainly do that as well. You can divvy them up, so you can override what the permissions are there. I thought it overrides by default. But anyway, if I submit that, I should then see, it'll go, hey, you added a module, items, and there we are. It cascades that. Now, why is it no to cascade that? Because I put that at 100. It means there's something else in here that's at a lower value. If I look, there's 1000. So tasks is underneath that. If I did not want tasks underneath items, then I would come up with a different scheme. Once you start putting in separators, then we may have issues with where things go. If there's nothing under here, let's say, for example, this was at 10 for an order, then it will obviously move up, and items goes away. It says, I'm not going to show you a separator if there's nothing to separate. There's nothing underneath items, so bye. This is a useless separator. I don't know why you made it, but for sake of argument, we'll put it something lower so that it does show up. I can also take an existing module, and maybe I set this to active items and add a filter to it. So the link type is still a list of records, and I remember my demo data well. I could say, show me only the records where active is true. Very handy if you're creating an application or creating a new table. Do you want to show all the records of those tables? Especially if it's something that people reference on a daily basis, you may want to consider breaking those out into, say, changes to active items, and now it automatically adds that filter. What came up yesterday, I think it was, somebody said, well, I want to put a filter on there, but I don't want people to change it. That's called a fixed query. So you can add that by changing this module from this query, because if I look at active items, I can say, no, I want to see all items, just take that off. I click the all, and away it goes. The other option, of course, is I can click the little greater than divider right between there and take off just that segment. If I had additional filters cascaded on there, I can do that. But if you want to prevent people from doing that, you can put in a fixed query, which would be a slightly different module argument setup. Instead of list of records and then saying active is true, you can put down here, take this out, I think I did this yesterday, and say ampersand sysparm fixed query equals active equals true. Now, realistically, this equals here and this equals here could get in the way. So you might want to think about doing a URL encode. And after doing this for so many years, I've just learned some of the common ones. %3D, it's in 3D. That's an equal sign. There's your mnemonic for remembering that. It's a 3D equals. Ooh, it's coming right at you. Now, if I click the same mountain, I'll wait for it to refresh. Blink. Okay. It's up here. I can't. Oh, must not have refreshed. Let's try that again. Refresh. Normally when you modify a module, it refreshes automatically. There we go. See how all is no longer blue? I can't click it. I can't click the greater than. The only thing I've got is here, which will refresh the list. So there are no active items in my list right now. If I look at all items, I don't even know what, there's a task table in here. Let's go back and modify that. So that's sysparm fixed query. Say, here's your list, don't mess with it. And you can make that as complex or simple as you like. The other one is, oh, you know what? I wonder if this works. I haven't played around with the window name too much. Let's save that. Update. And I wonder if that opens in a new window. I think it does. I think it does, but I forget what the format of that is. Let's go to my CLS, and yes, it opens it in a new window. So if that's your preference, you may want to do this for maybe a custom UI page, maybe a custom portal, maybe some sort of dashboard. I did this, where did I do this? Was it on this instance? Yes, it was on this instance. I even used the same little notation as the service portal. I created a pop-out window here called soft button page, which invokes the dashboard this way, and I get pick a company. Here's a company, press the button, and it registers an event, etc., etc. So just a little example that I did there. The application I use, since I'm on this instance anyway, I'm going to shift gears. That was my spiel about modules. There's a whole lot more you can learn about modules. If you've got questions, let us know. Play around with them. Test it on your personal developer instance like I did, so you don't hurt anybody. You don't accidentally get it captured in an update set. Yeah, if you find something useful in here, click the like button. There might be some information that you've overlooked somewhere in your journey. Certainly information that I've overlooked. I wrote a community live stream application to give you a quick tour of this, and I have community live stream. I have a table called episodes. I have a table called topics. These are the topics that I talk about during this, the records we visited, etc. I have some properties that I can use to do some debugging. I don't even remember what's in here. Oh, there's the repo where we're going to post it to. How about that? And then I sort of over-engineered this because I've got some templates in here that I want to use for substituting text. For example, when you see the description on YouTube, let's go to YouTube, pick one of like yesterday's show. Look, I'm streaming live right now. There's yesterday's show. I don't want to play it, but you can see in the description, episode topics covered include, boom, 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 boom. These come right from the community. So what I do as soon as the recording is over, collect up my code, push that to GitHub, and then I go to community profile. In the community profile, it's made very, very easy because I can say what activity was here. In fact, I'm going to do today's now, just to give you a little insight of what I do. And I can remember the 4 or 5 articles that I talked about in here. We talked about groups seeing each other. That was 2 hours ago, so I didn't start there. I think I started with possible ways to submit a form. Okay, I copied the link and I put it in our notes, and that was the first thing. Because these are in reverse chronological, I'm just going to keep copying them that way. Next one, copy. This is the the preview of what I do after the show. We talked about Microsoft Intune. We talked about UI page without submission. Is that it? It felt like a lot more. I'm sure I will scan the video one more time just to make sure that they're there. Once I've got that, then I go over to my community application, and YouTube is going to process this video. When it's done, I will get an alert through IFTTT, if this then that, very simple flow application. I think I've got two-factor on here, so let me get my two-factor code somewhere. And I'm off this text field. That's not even the right keyboard. I don't even know what I'm pushing on that one. Try using the right keyboard. So in there I have my applets. They used to be called recipes. If a new public video from NowCommunity, then make a web request. You can use a webhook. And what I've got here is watch this URL. And the URL that I put in there was the /feed onto that. It says, if something comes in there from the NowCommunity, these are my subscriptions, by the way. I'm sorry, I didn't put in a URL. I put in the subscription. So I could use any of the subscriptions and say, let me know. Do a webhook. The webhook has this URL. This is a scripted REST API that I wrote. It's listening on this instance. The instance says, anybody, I'm listening. Well, at some point during the day, IFTTT is going to go, hey, new YouTube video on the NowCommunity channel. You might want to know about it. And it sends me a post method with this JSON package in it. So title. I use these 3 angle brackets. There's a little note down here. Surround any text with double angle brackets, which is a lie. It's actually triple angle brackets, as I learned the hard way, to escape the context. So if you have a quote, if you have a backslash, if you have something in there, it will prevent it from mucking up your JSON payload, which is a possibility. So I did that, and then it comes in and creates me a record. Now the record is an episode record, and it's pretty blank when I start. So here's one that's been already fleshed out. I get the title from YouTube, and I get a URL from YouTube. That's all I get. All right, so what I do next is go into the topics and quite literally copy these out of here, whoosh, paste them into here, and I say keep the formatting. I want the formatting, and then I have a script that says parse the topic HTML. This is a UI action that invokes a script include. I'm not even in the right scope, but that's okay. It invokes a script include that says topic process. That goes through and strips out the HTML, separates the link from the text. If there is no link, it knows that it's just text, and I get a related list of topics. That's the topics table. So if there was no link, it would just leave the link off. And in what order? So we can follow along. If you're watching the video, it's not time-stamped, but it is, hopefully, in the right order if I copy and pasted them right, that we can link to the specific articles in the show. Now that doesn't work for YouTube because the description doesn't allow me links, but it works really, really well for the community. Once I've got that, I say use the default community live stream template for the community, use the default community live stream for YouTube, and same thing for LinkedIn. This just does my text replacement. If you saw that template, it uses something very similar to email where I have $curly topic list or $curly HTML topic list or $curly date or repo or whatever. So if I have Git code, it will point to the specific Git folder, as I do today, I will today. And once I've got these 3 templates filled in and I've got a topic list, then I hit the generate key or the generate UI link. Generate simply fills in all of these fields. The LinkedIn one with the topic list, very easy to do. It uses the image that I said I want to use. It fills in the community with a video because it knows the YouTube URL. Therefore, it can embed this. It puts together the episode list. So I don't have to create any of this content. It's just a copy, paste into the community. All I did is I copy and pasted the links, hit a couple of UI actions, and now I copy and paste this stuff. Once I've got it posted to the community, I post the URL up here, and then I can post it to LinkedIn with, of course, another UI action. Could this be automated even more? Yes, if I had a REST API to the community and understood the table structure in the community software of the CLS, CSM, Customer Service Management, has the community option. Haven't explored that yet. I want to. I'm working with the team on high to see if we can get that done for this and for Tech Now, because there's numerous times during the Tech Now process where I need to create or update the post for our given topic that's coming up during the month. Hey, I've got a registration link. Great, go put in the registration button. Hey, I've got topics. We're done with the show. Whatever it happens to be, there's a need for it there. And then, of course, LinkedIn sends me a REST response back that I can keep track of this, check the date, check the URL, make sure everything posted right. Everything's cool. So very, very automated. By the time I'm done with the show, there's maybe 10 minutes worth of work to do, and it's done. And I've got LinkedIn, I've got the community, I've got YouTube all updated. It's really just waiting for YouTube to process. And that's what it comes down to. So yes, there is a ServiceNow application. I don't know how my title got up there and why we're still looking at it. I must have been, when I was typing in the keys. And I've got a little artifact from the white balance filter on my camera. See that little ghost right there? Let's get rid of that. Bye, ghost. Wonderful. But hey, we're done with the show. I probably should have just left it big head anyway. So there you go. A little bit of insight as to how this show is managed. And again, another possibility of automating my life through ServiceNow. And if I can do this for my fun home/work projects, imagine what you can do with your work projects as well. That's it for today. I look forward to seeing you here again tomorrow. Thank you for watching. If you find something useful in here, don't forget to click the like button on YouTube so that others know there's something useful or you learned it and you like this video. And share that link. Till next time, take care. Bye.